All right, one of our goals or objectives for today was to be able to graph things when we're given them in slope-intercept form. So the main important part is to be able to pull out the slope and the y-intercept so that way we can graph like the song said. Okay, so first off, if it's written in the form y equals mx plus b, again that's slope-intercept form, it's important to be able to identify what the m is and the b. So if you look down below, obviously 2x, and then we don't have plus anything, so we're going to fill that in with a 0. Okay, so the slope here would be 2. A lot of times we like to make fractions of the slope, so you could have 2, or you could have 2 over 1, which will help us eventually for our graphing. And then the y-intercept here would be 0, or right at the origin is where this graph would start. Okay, number 2. If there is not a number in front of the x, remember there is always that imaginary 1 there that we would fill in. And since this is a -3, it would be plus a -3. So our slope here would be 1, or again, when we go to graph it, would be 1 over 1. And the y-intercept would be at -3. All right, number 3, notice there is no x term. It is just y equals 5. So since there is no x term, we would fill it in with the 0, and we would have 5 as the constant. So again, no coefficient, but a constant of 5. So our slope would be 0, and our y-intercept would be 5. On number 4, we have had these before where we have, it's a literal equation where we're trying to get y by itself. So right now, y is not by itself. So this one is not in y-intercept form. Or sorry, slope-intercept form. So we're going to have to do a little work here first. Again, our goal is to get the y by itself. So we have to get rid of the plus 2x. To send it to the other side, we do the opposite. So subtract 2x, and whatever you do to one side, we do to the other side. Now before, I didn't really care which order you put it in. But now, since we want it in slope-intercept form, the mx part comes first. So we definitely want to put the -2x part first and then the -1. So if I filled that in here into the boxes, that would be -2x and then -1. So our slope is -2. Again, if you want to make it a fraction, that'd be -2 over 1. And our y-intercept is -1. All right, so this time we're going to write equations given an m and a b. So we just want to plug them into, again, slope-intercept form. So we're going to take out the m and we're going to plug in a 1/2. And we're going to take out the b and put a -2. So instead of a plus -2, I'm just going to put a -2. And that would be how we write that equation. Okay, next one. Again, plug in your m and your b are the only two parts that you have to plug in. So this would be a 1x plus 0. And that's kind of ugly. We like to clean that up a little bit. A better way of writing that is just y equals x. All right, the third one here, we're going to plug it in, the m and the b again. So y equals 0x minus 3. And when you have no x's, a lot of times that will just go away. And the best way of writing this is y equals -3. Okay, so we're going to continue with writing equations of lines. This time, though, we're going to be given a graph. So yesterday we talked about how to find slope, which, if you remember, was rise over run. So let's start there, since we already know where to go with that. So first off, I'm going to put 2 points on the graph. There's one, and there's one. And so I told you yesterday that we always like to start with the one on the left. And my rise here would have been $1, so 1. And I would run 4. So our slope is 1/4. And then the only new thing today is the y-intercept, the b. And remember, that is where your line hits the y-axis. So in this case, it hits the y-axis at that point right there, which is down 1 from the origin, so -1 would be our b. And now we can plug it into the equation like we did on the other ones. So y equals mx plus b. We're going to take out the m, and we're going to plug in 1/4. And we're going to take out the b and put -1 there. So our final answer, y equals 1/4 x minus 1. Okay, next one. We're going to do the same things here. You guys can do it on your own or with me. It's up to you. Pull out 2 points. There's more than 2 points. But I'm going to start with the one on the far left. Again, I'm going to do rise over run. This time I didn't rise, I fell. So we're going down 2, and we went over $1. So -2 over 1. Again, you can write that better as -2. And then our B is the starting point, and this graph starts right at the origin, or sorry, where it hits the y-axis. It hits at 0. Okay, so if we plug that into our equation would be y equals -2x. And I'm going to not put the +0 because it looks better when we take that part out. It's just more cleaned up this way. All right, and our third example here. Yesterday we talked about the different kinds of slope, positive, negative. We talked about zero slope, undefined slope. This slope, if you remember, is a slope of 0. And where it hits our y-axis is right there, and that is the point -2, 2 down from the origin. And so if I put this into our equation, it would be y equals 0x minus 2, which again is not the best way of writing it. It can be cleaned up a little bit to just y equals -2. We don't need to put that there are 0 x's. All right, we're going to stop here for your commercial break.